What is going on, everybody? Thanks for joining me on my channel, Brutus on Baseball, once again. Today I have got a box opening, an older box. This is the Studio box from 1992, so the second year that Studio made cards. But this one is the jumbo packs, and I've never opened one of the jumbo pack boxes before, so I wanted to check it out, and I figured I'd share it with you guys when I check it out for the first time. And this is the cool insert, the Heritage Series, one of my favorite inserts from the 90s. I think I did highlight it. It may not have made my top 10, but when I made my top 10 insert sets from the 90s, I think I at least highlighted it as one of the cool ones. 92 is the first year that they made those. So we're gonna check this out. We'll see how often we get inserts. I think with the jumbo packs, it's an insert every pack, but I'm not totally certain on that, so we'll find out. Here we go, 24 packs was what was on the top, 24 count, and we got 28 baseball cards per pack. So we're gonna get a ton of base cards, but we're gonna check it out and see what we get in terms of insert cards. And the Studio cards, back in these days, what they were cool for was, you know, kind of an intimate portrait, I guess is what they were going for, of the players. So you'd see them, the card design for the second year. The first year was, you know, just close-up portrait shots of the players around a pink border. These, they changed it up a little bit. They have the nice black and white design in the background of an action shot with a portrait in the front. Doubled up the pictures, kind of made it cool. The brown, beige borders, I'm not too excited about those, but I really like 93, 94, where they took the borders away and just made really close-up shots with some cool backgrounds. So, got Andy Van Slyke, Brian Harvey, Scott Leus, I'm guessing on that one a little bit, Vince Coleman, Dante Bichette, Gary Carter, Hall of Fame guy right there. And whenever I do go through these old packs, you know, I know that they're base cards from old kind of junk wax era, but I still separate out the Hall of Famers. Kind of give them a nice little shout out in case people are watching that don't know the Hall of Famers all that well or have forgotten about him. Billy Williams, he's actually a Hall of Fame guy from the 60s, 70s, but he's on the checklist. That's kind of cool. I forgot that they had put Hall of Fame guys on the checklist. Eddie Murray, another Hall of Fame guy. Greg Vaughn, Spike Owen, got Jeff Bagwell, his second year card, one of my favorite players growing up. I love Bagwell. Sandy Alomar, Norm Charlton, and George Bell, and we do have our first Heritage, and it's Darren Daulton of the Phillies. So if we do get a Heritage every pack, maybe be able to collect, you know, pretty close to a full set, if not a full set of Heritage cards if we do get one per pack. And so far the condition on these looks really nice. So Chuck McElroy, Eddie Taubency, Robbie Thompson, Greg Swindell, Gary Sheffield, his, you know, third or fourth year, I think, on that one. Got a nice flat top there. Darryl Kyle, tragedy that he passed away early. Bill Swift, Kevin McReynolds, Jack Morris, another Hall of Famer. Put him in the pile. I won't talk about whether he deserves it. BJ Surhoff, Tony Pena, Scott Leos again, and Brian Harvey again. So already starting to get some double ups in the first pack. You know, we started out with, well, we ended up with Scott Leos and Brian Harvey, and I think we started out with Brian Harvey and Scott Leos. So goes to show you these old kind of junk wax era boxes, probably not necessarily the best in terms of randomization for inserting cards into packs, but it is what it is. All right, so right on the back, we're gonna have a John Smoltz, so Hall of Famer at the end of that one. Doug Jones, got Randy Johnson, another Hall of Famer. Got the broken bats, all the guys that he made have weak contact and break their bats hitting against him. So Tony Gwynn, another Hall of Famer. Will Clark, not a Hall of Famer, but he should be in my book. I always put him with the Hall of Famers. Palmeiro, I put him there too. He's got 3,000 hits. I know the steroid suspension and everything like that, but I just put him over there because really we don't know how steroids are going to be seen into the future, and we may change our minds a little bit, and the guy with 3,000 hits is going to probably go in if the opinions do change. Chris Hoyles, Frank Viola, great pitcher for a number of years. David Justice, great hitter for a number of years. Chuck Finley, Kirk McCaskill, Paul O'Neill, Benito Santiago, great Padres catcher. And the next Heritage is another Darren Daulton. Got a duplicate already of the Heritage Series. Only 2 packs in, and we've got a duplicate. That's funny. Lee Stevens, Scott Sanderson, Frank Thomas, Hall of Famer, Randy Reddy, Doug Jones, Mike Jackson, Jose Offerman, Tom Pagnozzi, Pudge, Yvonne Rodriguez, the second Pudge, another Hall of Fame player, Wally Joyner, Rick Sutcliffe, Anthony Young, and John Smoltz, which we saw. All right, next pack in line. I think the most interesting ones are the Heritage Series, so they're going to be in the middle of the pack. Maybe we'll start... Oh, whoa, we got 2 Heritage Series cards in that one. That's going to be interesting. So what we'll do is we'll put those at the back, try to take care of them, because, you know, they would be nice to get them in good condition. So we got Doug Jones, Mike Jackson, Jose Offerman, Tom Pagnozzi, Butch Henry, Darren Lewis, Ramon Martinez, Anthony Young, John Smoltz again. So a bunch of repeats in the first half. Dale Murphy is a new one, not a Hall of Famer, but I'll include him. Sammy Sosa, I typically would include him in that pile, you never know, but this one is pretty off-center, so I'm just going to leave it out. Denny Nagel, Kenny Lofton, again off-center, but I would put him in the Hall of Fame category. Gary Scott, Gary Sheffield, now we're back on center, so that's good. Got Tino, Mark Lewis, Mike Moore, Fred McGriff, another Hall of Fame player. Chris Sabo, Hall of Fame eyewear, I like that. Matt Noakes, Lance Parrish, and we got Paul Molitor, the next Heritage Series. Got his old Seattle Pilots uniform. They existed 1 year before becoming the Milwaukee Brewers, so that's pretty cool. Nice looking card. Got white dust all over these. We'll have to clean them off afterwards. Will Clark and another Hall of Fame pile guy. Alex Cole, Carney Lansford, Scott Leos again. That's the third one in 3 packs. And the Darren Daulton again. Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, if we're going to get 3 of one guy, 3 Heritage cards of one guy in the first 3 packs, I wouldn't have wanted it to be Darren Daulton, but that was an extra one in that pack anyway. So I'll treat that pack as we got Paul Molitor, and Darren Daulton was just an added bonus for fun. So no worries there. Hopefully we'll get some variety going forward. Got John Kruk on the back. I'm not going to worry too much about opening these up face up, so not too exciting what's on the back. Ken Caminiti, Eric Davis, a great player, just a lot of injuries. Cecil Fielder, Mark Gubigza, Gary Carter, got him coming up again, Hall of Famer, Dante Bichette, Jose Canseco, man, he's got a following. He's not a Hall of Fame guy, but he's got a huge following. Barry Bonds, again, not a Hall of Famer, but he's going to be the first steroid guy to go in. All right, Charlie Hayes, Kim Baptiste, Scott Erickson, Gary Scott, Anthony Young, Rex Hudler, and... Oh, Jesus. Oh, wow. Well, okay. All right. Well, this is the Darren Daulton box. I've got 4 Darren Daulton Heritage cards now out of 4 packs. Any Darren Daulton fans out there, you just let me know. I think I've got one to spare. Don Mattingly, Steve Sachs, Mark McGuire, Glenn Allen Hill, Brent Main, Devon White, Bill Wegman, Jeff Reardon, Pat Mahomes, not Junior, Senior, Derek Bell, Eddie Murray, Hall of Famer, Terry Pendleton, and John Kruk, Hall of Fame All-Star appearance against Randy Johnson. If you guys haven't seen that, check it out. Great video on YouTube. Just John Kruk versus Randy Johnson. You'll find it in a heartbeat. All right, next one up. Okay. We've got to get some diversity other than Darren Daulton here. We don't want Darren Daulton. That's all I'm asking for. Anybody but Darren Daulton. Howard Johnson, B.J. Surhoff, Kevin Mitchell. Kevin Mitchell had the great barehanded grab in the outfield. Again, look up that video if you haven't seen that one. Eric Karros, Mike Henneman, Steve Finley, Alex Cole, Steve Buechele, Mike Gallego, Wes Chamberlain, Greg Gagne, Jeff Reardon, Matt Noakes, Doug Jones, and let's see what we got here. Okay, we got a Kirby Puckett. At least it's not a Darren Daulton. No offense, Darren. All right, Kirby Puckett. Again, pretty decent looking card. These are at least nice looking. A little bit of a scuff at the bottom, but I think that can come off with a little bit of rubbing. Roberto Alomar, Hall of Famer, Todd Zeal, Julio Franco, Kevin Bass, Jay Buhner, one of my favorite Mariners growing up in Seattle. I love Buhner. He was such a great personality and a decent player. Andy Bennis, Harold Baines. Reluctantly, we'll put him in the Hall of Fame pile. Jay Bell, Danny Tartable, Mitch Williams, Rick Aguilera, Bobby Bonilla, and Ricky Bones. Ricky Bones. Hopefully we're off the Darren Dalton path. We'll see how it goes, see how we roll. Kent Herbeck, Mariano Duncan, Kevin Moss, Gary Varsho, Edgar Martinez, Hall of Famer. If you guys haven't checked out, I've made a whole list of biggest prospect busts from my collecting days as a kid. Started around 88, 89. Kevin Moss is one of those huge ones from 1990. If you haven't checked out those videos, check them out. They're a lot of fun to watch. Good walk down memory lane for anybody that collected during that time too. All right, Greg Harris, Carney Lansford, Royce Clayton, Darren Dalton. Not the heritage, I'll take the base. Tom Candiotti, Kevin McReynolds, Jeff Montgomery, Dave Stewart. Man, that guy was intimidating when you hit against him. Mark Lewis, and that's the right side up. Got another Kirby Puckett. Okay, so we know how this rolls. You get a couple of the same ones over and over again. But Kirby Puckett, that's an improvement on Darren Dalton, I guess. Jimmy Navarro, Marquise Grissom, Greg Jeffries, Eric Karros, Mike Henneman, Steve Finley, Alex Cole, Paul O'Neill, Kirk McCaskill, Doug DeCenzo, Chuck Finley, David Justice, and Frank Viola again. So a lot of repeats here. Jumbo packs, definitely, I don't remember how many cards are in the studio sets. They were usually a lot shorter. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a full complete set, especially from one of these jumbo boxes. So not too surprising seeing a lot of repeats, but still not something you want to see a lot of repeats of. So Travis Fryman, these front cards are pretty banged up. I noticed that. Oral Hershiser, a great pitcher for the Dodgers. Brian Jordan, football and baseball guy, like Deion Sanders from that time, not quite as good as Deion. Pat Borders, we've got Eric Hansen, Tony Fernandez, Dennis Eckersley, Hall of Famer, Steve Buechele, Mike Gallego, Wes Chamberlain, Greg Gagne. There we go, got a checklist. Rod Carew. And we did get a checklist before. I forgot Billy Williams was on the checklist. So there's 88 cards right there. Doesn't show us how many total in the set yet, but Vince Coleman, speedy guy. This is not going to be Kirby Puckett. It's not going to be Darren Dalton because I've got a Cub. So let's see who the Cub player was. Oh my God. Never mind. It was Kirby Puckett. I thought I had a Cub there. I just must have looked at the patch and thought Cub, but all right, we got another Kirby Puckett. This is disappointing, especially with the Heritage Series. I mean, come on. If you're going to have one per pack of the Heritage Series, you got to have more diversity than 4 Darren Daltons and 3 Kirby Pucketts and 1 Paul Molitor. That's ridiculous. So, anyway, Scott Erickson, Tim Burke, Scott Fletcher, Yvonne Calderon, Tom Gordon, Tom Candiotti, Rob Deere, Craig Biggio, Hall of Fame guy, Jack Armstrong, Rob Devil with the sunglasses, one of the nasty boys, Greg Hibbard, Joe Girardi, Hubie Brooks, and Sid Bream. All right. So we got 4 Darren Daltons. I think, was it 4 or 3 Kirby Pucketts right now? We've got 3 Kirby Pucketts. So I'm curious if we're going to get a 4th Kirby Puckett or if we're going to move on sooner than that. And that'll be interesting to find out, won't it? On this little journey right along with me. Lee Smith, another Hall of Fame guy. Howard Johnson, Mike Morgan, Gerald Clark, Ramon Martinez, Greg Olson, Larry Walker, fairly young card of a Hall of Fame guy. Todd Worrell, Darryl Strawberry, Hall of Fame talent, but just couldn't keep it together off the field. Greg Olson, Franklin Stubbs, Brian Harvey, Kurt Stillwell, another Darryl Strawberry. And it's upside down. Let's see if this is Kirby. Who thinks this is Kirby? Let's find out. No, we've got an Andre Dawson. Here's the Cub. I was 1 pack off. I was predicting the future, I guess, in that last one. All right, we got Andre Dawson, Chicago Cubs. Heritage card. Got Roger Clemens. I'll put him in that Hall of Fame pile. Should go in whenever Barry Bonds goes in, but we'll find out one of these days. Jose Guzman, John Burkett, Eric Hansen, Tony Fernandez, Dennis Eckersley, Steve Buechele, Mike Gallego, Wes Chamberlain, Greg Gagne. Lots and lots of repeats happening already at this point. And I'd say we're a third of the way done with the box. We're not even half. I think this next layer is probably going to get us halfway there. Definitely interesting opening these up. I know, You know, as a kid, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford an entire box of this, but if I had, that would have been some major disappointment getting all of these same heritage cards over and over. Mike Lavalier, Greg Olson, Dennis Martinez, B.J. Surhoff, Tony Pena, Von Hayes. You know, at my age now, it's not that big a deal. This is more for fun. I'm not looking at this for investment. Collect the Heritage Series because it's fun. But as a kid, man, that would have been very disappointing to get so many repeats. That's a lot of fading on that one. Another Greg Olson. Different Greg Olson than the one we just saw. I had no idea that there were two Greg Olsons. That Greg Olson and that Greg Olson. There we go. Braves catcher and a Orioles relief pitcher. That's interesting. Mickey Morandini, Kenny Lofton, I'll put that one in the future Hall of Fame pile. Jeff Russell, B.J. Surhoff, Von Hayes again, Mark McGuire, put him in the future Hall of Fame as well. But let's see who, another Andre Dawson. So we know what this is all about. I wonder, like, if you think about it, maybe this really was meant to be bought a pack at a time by collectors. And that's what I would have done as a kid. So I would have gotten one insert card and been like, oh, okay, cool. Not knowing that the next person in line to buy another pack is going to get the same exact one. So maybe that's just how they did it. Jose Rijo showing off that muscle. Darryl Strawberry, Todd Worrell, Larry Walker again, Greg Olson again, Mike Sharperson, Ozzie. That's the first Ozzie Smith we've seen. Phil Plantier, another top prospect that I collected a lot of his cards when I was young. Shouldn't have, but oh well. Check out those prospect videos. Learn all about the mistakes that I made when I was young, collecting prospects that did not pan out to anything. All right. Todd Hundley, Franklin Stubbs, Scott Sanderson, Dale Murphy. Future Hall of Famer, but super off-center, so we'll leave that out. Kirby Puckett, super off-center as well, so we'll leave that one out. Brett Saberhagen, Tom Glavine, we're back on center, so we'll move Glavine aside, the first Glavine we've seen. Mike Devereaux, Pat Borders, Donovan Osborne, Dean Palmer, Royce Clayton, Edgar Martinez, another Hall of Fame hitter, Greg Harris, and is that Andre Dawson? Hello, Andre Dawson. Yeah, pretty obvious what they did here. Just like 4 in a row over and over and over. That's really fascinating. Kevin Mitchell, Frank Tanana, Mike Moore, Mark Lewis, Tino Martinez, Tony Phillips, Robin Yount, the first Robin Yount we've seen. Jody Reed, Kirby Puckett, much more on center that time. Lance Parrish, Matt Noakes, Chris Sabo, and Fred McGriff, really off center to finish that off. Okay. Kirby Puckett on the back of that one. Kevin McReynolds, Phil Plantier, Don Mattingly, future Hall of Famer, most likely, with the way that the Veterans Committees are voting these days. Yvonne Rodriguez, Mark Lemke, Brian Harvey, Kurt Stillwell, Darryl Strawberry, Kyle Ripken Jr., first Ripken that we've seen. Frank Thomas, great run of players there. Pete O'Brien, Rex Hudler, Anthony Young. Let's see what we get here. Is this another Andre Dawson? It is. My goodness. That is frustrating. Dale Murphy, Sammy Sosa. We'll move that one across. Danny Nagel, Kenny Lofton, Frank Tanana, Butch Henry, Darren Lewis, Ramon Martinez, John Olerud, great hitter, Robin Yount, and Kirby to finish that pack off as well. There's the Kirby Puckett. So we have got 4 Andre Dawsons, 3 Kirby Pucketts, 4 Darren Daltons. I'm expecting a new player here. Had the one Paul Moliver just like randomly thrown in there for fun. Okay. Pete Harnish, Gerald Clark, Ruben Sierra, Bill Wegman, Lance Parrish, Randy Reddy, Mike Sosha, manager for the Angels for a lot of years, Mike Mussina, first Mussina card that we've seen, John Kruk, Bip Roberts, Darren Lewis, Ken Hill, Andy Van Slyke, Eddie Taubensee, and is this, oh, we're back to Kirby Puckett. I guess we didn't get the fourth one of him, so we needed to get a fourth one. Mark Whitten, hard-hitting Mark Whitten, one of my favorite nicknames from that time period. Melito Perez, Alex Fernandez, Terry Steinbach, Paul Sorrento, Pete O'Brien, Mike Scioscia, Lee Smith again, Dennis Martinez, Ben McDonald, Todd Hundley, Mark Lemke, and their studio nameplate card sort of thing. Ben McDonald, again, another one of those guys that's on my top prospect bust from the 90s videos that I made. I'll link those down below so you can check them out. Albert Bell, scary hitter right there. Won't make the Hall of Fame, but was one of the best hitters in the 90s by far. Hal Morris, Lance Johnson, Vince Coleman, Rod Carew again on the checklist, Greg Gagne, Wes Chamberlain, Tony Fernandez, Eric Hansen, John Burkett, Brian Jordan, Pat Borders, Mark Gubigza, Gary Carter, Hall of Fame guy. And this could be a new one. We'll find out. Maybe it's Paul Molitor again. Nope, we've got an Andy Van Slyke. New card for the Heritage. Expect to get 3 more in a row. That's my guess. Wade Boggs, Hall of Famer. Brady Anderson, Roberto Alomar, Hall of Famer. Todd Zeal, Julio Franco, Kevin Bass, Jay Buhner, Andy Bennis, Harold Baines, reluctant Hall of Famer. Jay Bell, Danny Tartable, Mitch Williams, Rick Aguilera. All right, I'd say we're definitely halfway by this point. Thanks for sticking with me through this one. I hope you guys are enjoying watching a box from the 1992 Studio Series being open. Big scratch on the Ripken card. Gosh, how old is this now? This is 31 years old, 32 years old. That's crazy. All right, so we'll set aside the Cal Ripken, that scratch. Del Murphy, future Hall of Fame guy potentially. Reggie Sanders, Bill Swift, Greg Vaughn, Mark Langston, Mike Moore, Tom Paganazzi, Todd Hundley, Chuck McElroy, Frank Viola, David Justice, Chuck Finley, Doug DeCenzo, and got another Andy Van Slyke. Pretty certain. There it is. Another Andy Van Slyke. Got 2 of those. Expect 2 more. Rod Carew, Vince Coleman, Dante Bichette, Gary Carter again, Mark Gubigza, Eric Davis, Cecil Fielder, Ken Caminiti, Carlos Baerga, Barry Larkin. That's the first Larkin we've seen. Robin Ventura, Mark Grace, and Chad Curtis. So we're still seeing some new cards. We're definitely not getting all of them yet. Barry Larkin was the first one in that last pack. So it'll be interesting to try to collate this, and I always pass that on to the kids. A little job for the kids that they actually enjoy doing. Collate the thing, see how many sets we can make, if we can make a set. And, you know, they have fun kind of looking through the cards and quizzing me on stuff, and it's always fun. All right, Butch Henry, Frank Tanana, John Kruk, Terry Pendleton, Jose Lind, Tim Raines, Hall of Fame guy. Went to the White Sox after a long time with the Expos. George Brett, that's the first Brett we've seen way off center, so I'll put it over here, but one of the best third basemen in history. Brett Butler, Milt Kyler, Jeff Bagwell, Sandy Alomar Jr., Jim Abbott, the pitcher with one hand. Really fascinating his story. Norm Charlton, Jamie Navarro, and let's see here, got another Andy Van Slyke. Okay, so that is, what is that? Is that number 4? No, that's number 3. So we might see another Andy Van Slyke. We'll just have to wait and see. Chris Hoyles, Joe Carter, Felix Jose, Rafael Palmeiro, Will Clark again, Marquise Grissom, Greg Jeffries, Eric Karros, Mike Henneman, Steve Finley, Darren Dalton, Brian Harper. All right. Another Van Slyke. Maybe it's each list has the same one. Let's start mixing that up. I'm going to start mixing that up. See if we can gain a little bit more excitement maybe about getting some new insert cards. So we've got Greg Olson again, the Braves Greg Olson, Howard Johnson, Mike Mussina, Spike Owen, Nolan Ryan. That's the first Nolan Ryan we've seen. Nice looking card. Alan Trammell, first one of him. Harold Baines, Harold Reynolds, Robbie Thompson, Larry Walker, Deion Sanders, Neon Deion. He's got a big following, so I put him in that pile, even though he's got no chance for the Hall of Fame. But Scott Erickson, Kim Baptiste, Charlie Hayes, Barry Bonds, And Andy Van Slyke. There we go. George Brett, better looking card there. Brett Barbary, Brett Butler. Lots of Bretts right there in a row. Milt Kyler, Jeff Bagwell again. Alomar Jr., Charlton, George Bell, Andre Dawson. That's the first Andre Dawson we've seen, at least on the base set. We've got Red Schoendienst, old Cardinals guy. Goes up to 176. So Billy Williams must be the last in the checklist. All right, so we've got 2 more levels here. So I guess I wasn't smart enough to catch on early enough in the box how things are rolling. But I'm going to catch on here. Hopefully this solves the problem. John Olerud, John Smiley, Alex Fernandez, Denny Nagel, Todd Hundley, Ben McDonald, Dennis Martinez, Lee Smith, Hall of Fame, Mike Scioscia, Pete O'Brien, Paul Sorrento, Terry Steinbuck, Alex Fernandez, Melito Perez. And it looks like we have a new player at least. Oh, we're back to Paul Molitor. Okay. We got 1 of Paul Molitor early in the box when we got a double inserts pack. I guess we're going to get a few more Paul Molitors. It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Tim Raines, I'm going to keep him in here. It's off center. Ruben Sierra, Keith Miller, Harold Reynolds, Alan Trammell, off center. Nolan Ryan, at least that one's on center. Spike Owen, Mike Mussina, Hall of Famer, Howard Johnson, Greg Olson, Lenny Dykstra. All right, let's mix this up. So we're going down now instead of doing the full layer of packs. See if we get somebody other than Paul Molitor. That's the hope. We'll find out. Doug DeCenzo, Jimmy Navarro, Jeff Brantley, Juan Gonzalez. I don't think we've seen a Juan Gonzalez yet. Not a Hall of Fame guy, but a notable guy. Got one guy that's backwards. John Franco, Mark McGuire, Tony Phillips, Rick Sutcliffe, Terry Mulholland, Greg Swindell, Keith Miller, Jeff Reardon, Matt Noakes, Doug Jones. And let's find out who we got. If we go down in the box, we're going to get Jeff Bagwell. Awesome. I love that one. That one's great. Well, the old Houston Colt 45s uniform from the early 1960s. And we've got John Franco, Paul Molitor. I don't think we've seen a Paul Molitor base card. Delano DeShields, Jeff Montgomery, Oral Hershiser, Tarvis Fryman, Andy Harcedeno, Albert Bell, Hal Morris, Lance Johnson, Greg Maddux. Definitely the first Greg Maddux we've seen. Man, he looks young in that Cubs uniform there. Gary DeSarcina and Tom Glavine. Glavine's got a pretty uplifted corner there, so I'll leave him in that pack. So we've got Jeff Bagwell. Question is, do we have 3 more Paul Molitors and 3 more Jeff Bagwells at the bottom? Yeah, we'll find out. I don't know how exciting this is when we know, but likely, who is going to be in each one. But, you know, let's find out. Gary Varsho, Kevin Moss, Dwight Gooden. First Dwight Gooden that we've seen, I think. Pat Borders, Brian Jordan, Jose Guzman, John Burkett, Ron Gant, Chad Curtis, Mark Grace, Robin Ventura, Barry Larkin, Hall of Fame guy, Carlos Baerga, and we've got a Paul Molitor. Okay. Ryan Sandberg. That's the first Sandberg we've seen. Jose Lind, Bip Roberts, Gerald Clark, Pete Harnish, Tim Wallach, Ripken, really off center, Brett Saberhagen, Deion Sanders off center, Mickey Morandini, Bobby Thigpen. Here's the Billy Williams card. So that's probably how many cards we have. 264 is the history card right after the checklist. So it's a pretty small set compared to the sets that were typical of this time period. 2 more likely Paul Molitors. Got Deion Sanders on the back. Got Gary Scott, Gary Sheffield, that flat top, Mike Sharperson, Pat Mahomes, Chris Sabo, Mike Jackson, Dennis Martinez, Greg Olson, Mike Lavalier, Pete Harnish, John Olerud, John Smiley. Oh, John Smiley. Okay, 2 cards in a row. Alex Fernandez. And let's find out if that's Paul Molitor. It is. Paul Molitor. Lance Parrish, Mac Noakes, Chris Sabo, Fred McGriff, Mike Moore, Mark Lewis, Tino, Tony Phillips, Rex Hudler, Tim Wallach, Cal Ripken Jr., pretty good, Brett Saberhagen, Deion Sanders off center. Okay. Moment of truth here. What does everybody think? Put it in the comments down below what you think. Do you think we're going to get a 5th Paul Molitor in this box? You know, we got a lucky extra Paul Molitor, I guess, because the top 4 were Darren Daltons. And we got the extra Paul Molitor in there. So that was an extra, but they should have all been Daltons. Now we're at a layer of Molitors. So I think that we're going to get Molitor number 5 right here. But let me know what you think. I'm curious what the guess is going to be for most people. Okay, Todd Worrell, Brett Saberhagen, Greg Harris, Robbie Thompson, Ruben, Mitch Williams, another nasty boy, Jordan Borders, Paul O'Neill, Alex Cole, Daryl Kyle, Alan Trammell, Hall of Famer, Mike Sharperson, and do we have a Paul Molitor? Sure looks like it. There we go. We got number 5 Paul Molitor. Figures, right? Terry Mulholland, Gary Scott, Randy Tomlin, Reggie Sanders, Benito Santiago, Tettleton. I don't think I've said the name Tettleton yet in this box, so we're still getting new ones. Jeff Russell, Brian McRae, Juan Guzman, Franklin Stubbs, Ken Hill, Mo Vaughn. We haven't seen Mo Vaughn yet. And another John Smiley. So even though it only has 264 cards, and we have way more than 264 cards in this box, I can guarantee that pretty much. 28 times 24, I don't know what that is. I'm not going to do it off the top of my head. But it's more than 264 because 28 times 10 is 280. So even though like we should be able to easily complete a set, or if not 2 in this box, we're definitely getting lots and lots of extra copies of some players and still seeing a first copy of a number of players down here in the bottom layer of the box. So bad collation back then. Ken Seiko, Tim Tufel, Griffey. That's the first Griffey we've seen. Bubblegum blowing Ken Griffey Jr. Glad we got him. Too bad we haven't had any more, but I'm glad we got him. Jeff Brantley, Juan Gonzalez, Pedro Guerrero, Dave Winfield, another first for a Hall of Fame, Glenn Davis, Chad Curtis, Marquise Grissom, Mike Henneman, Eric Karros, Greg Jeffries, Dwight Gooden, and a Jeff Bagwell. So everybody knows. Sorry, it's not exciting. I know. We're going to get 2 more Jeff Bagwells in this box, unfortunately. Or fortunately, it's probably my favorite one to get out of that set, so I'm not going to complain too much. Sam Horn, Donovan Osborne, Dean Palmer, Royce Clayton, Edgar again, Greg Harris, Carney Lansford, Gary Farshow, Kevin Moss, Mariana Duncan, Kent Herbeck, Dwight Gooden. You know, I'm not excited about getting 4 Jeff Bagwells in one box, but I'm glad that one of the multiple copies that we got is a Jeff Bagwell. And I was thinking about trying to complete this set, you know, the Heritage set from this box. I figured with 1 insert per pack that I should be able to complete a set, but I'm not going to. So I guess I'm going to have to reach out and try to trade with some people that have some of these Heritage sitting around. Maybe I can complete a set by doing it that way. Cal Ripken, Hall of Fame. Rex Hudler, Tony Phillips, Ramon Martinez, Darren Lewis, Butch Henry, Fred McGriff, Hall of Famer, Sabo, Noakes, Parrish, Puckett. Pretty decent. Jody Reed, Jeff Bagwell, upside down Jeff Bagwell. 1 good one of each. Bonilla, Bones, Barbary, George Brett. That's a good looking one for George Brett. Brett Butler, Kyler. Another Jeff Bagwell base card. Alomar Jr., Charlton, George Bell, Andre Dawson, Hall of Famer, Jim Abbott, Mike Devereaux, and Pat Borders. Okay, last pack. Last Jeff Bagwell Heritage insert card coming right up. John Smiley again. Terry Mulholland, Melito Perez, Andy Van Slyke, Billy Williams checklist. Got Mickey Morandini, Matt Noakes, Denny Nagel, Pat Mahomes. Turn it over again. Greg Maddox, Hall of Fame, Lance Johnson, Hal Morris, Albert Bell, Anduar Cedeno, Jeff Bagwell. All the Bagwells look like they have a pretty rough lower left corner, unfortunately. But we'll take a better look at them when I get off this video. Ron Gant, Greg Harris, Glenn Davis, Dave Winfield, Hall of Fame, Pedro, Juan Gonzalez, Jeff Brantley, got a Griffey. Love it. I was thinking I would after seeing that series and Winfield popping up. I figured we might get another Griffey, and they're pretty good looking Griffies, so that's kind of nice. Tim Tufel, Jose Canseco, Barry Bonds. And those 2 guys will go over there. They're quite collectible by a lot of people. And there you have it. There is a jumbo box of 1992 Studio I opened it so you don't have to. You know what you're gonna get. I wonder how common that is. Are all the jumbo boxes like this where you get, you know, 4 of the same insert card at a time? I guess I'll move them around. Yeah, like, I'd be surprised if that's the way it is for everyone, but I guess it would kind of make sense if it's that way too. And so Puckett, Dawson, Paul Molitor, and Bagwell, at least 4 out of them were Hall of Famers. Darren Dalton, and who was the other guy? Andy Vince Lake. Not so much, but got some pretty good players there, so can't complain too much. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me, checking this video out. Keep talking baseball. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you around.